quickly, just this week, Mr. Tavejo from Venezuela would have said that your position on this military assets in the Caribbean is shameful, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, he doubts they are on your side with what you would have said. What was your response to that?
My response is I stand by what I've said before. Having the U.S. Intervention in the Caribbean waters is beneficial to Trinidad and Tobago. I have no quarrel with Venezuela. We maintain good relationships, and if the minister has said those things, I'm not provoked. I'm not worried. We will continue relationships with all our neighbors, and I welcome again the fight against drug trafficking, human trafficking, drugs, crime. So we welcome them. I am not in aggression against Venezuela.
Prime Minister, some of our international news affiliates have sort of told us that there may be an imminent attack. That is the US's plan. Have you all been at all in contact with the US towards any plan, or if they will be using any of our territory at all? I see Minister Soba shaking his head. So
No. Well, I'm very clear. We have had no agreement for any military attack. If there are any such plans, we are not part of any of those discussions. And what you asked me again, if they'll be using any of our bases, not to my knowledge and not to the Minister's knowledge. There is no such agreement. What I had said, I maintain it. Should Venezuela move against Guyana, it is then that we will offer any space here to protect our CARICOM neighbor, brother and sister.
The opposition leader is asking for clarity on if there any alliance has been formed with the US. I know Secretary of State Marco Rubio would have spoken of some international alliance, and she's asking if Trinidad and Tobago is part of any alliance with the US.
We are in alliance with anyone, anywhere who will help us fight drugs, crime, guns, criminals. We are in alliance with any such countries and persons anywhere in the world.
Have you had anyone from your administration had any recent talks with anyone from the government of Venezuela about the recent issues there?
Not to my knowledge.
I've continued to have discussions with the Venezuelan ambassador in Trinidad and Tobago, and as the Honorable Prime Minister has indicated, our relationship with Venezuela remains intact, and that is the position.
COFCO would have had an emergency meeting, I understand.
And
What was discussed?
the discussions in COFCO are private. There will be a saving gram that will be put out. Pursuant to that, I guess the media will glean from it what they would. But those discussions are essentially a caucus discussion, and I am not at liberty to discuss those things at this point in time.
So you're saying there's no formal alliance that has been ratified between Trinidad and Tobago, the US, and some of the allies that Secretary Rubio would have mentioned?
We have given support for the intervention as far as we are aware for these ships and military and whoever to be here, but there's no alliance saying that I'm going to give Tetron Barracks, I'm going to give Stobbles Bay. No facilities in Trinidad and Tobago has been pledged to anyone else. Again, should they attack Guyana, then we will offer our bases here.
Yesterday, Cuba would have said that the US is looking to turn Caribbean waters into a war zone. What's your response to that?
I have no such knowledge. If Cuba knows something, maybe they will share it with us. If they have the evidence, fine, we'll consider it. But I have no such discussions, no such indication, and no evidence with respect to that.
Has President Ali expressed any support? Did he welcome the support that you gave him?
President Ali, openly, I saw him on the media saying yes. So that's out there.
The Venezuelan ambassador.
Guyana has an election on Monday. Please understand. Jamaica is the chair of CARICOM, has an election in a few days' time. I think that's part of what's happening. But there was a meeting of CARICOM foreign ministers. There was a casual meeting, an unofficial meeting where there were discussions. And I think we may have to await these two elections for a more cohesive response based on who is the CARICOM chair.
Venezuela's ambassador and Cuba as well, both of them suggested that the US's pretext for sending these ships to the region and sending a nuclear submarine to deal with terrorist drug cartels, that doesn't line up, it doesn't make sense, and they think it's an excuse for them to send these ships to the region to destabilize Venezuela. What are your thoughts on those comments?
I don't agree with them. I do not agree with that. Again, there are those who are for and those who are against. There will always be those who will say yay and nay. There's one narrative coming from one side, the other narrative is coming. I have no evidence. Again, I say that the things that they are alleging, that is in fact happening. I have no such evidence.
Do you think a nuclear submarine is overkill to fight a
That
drug
is not
cartel?
for me to determine. This is a sovereign nation. They're going into international waters as far as our knowledge is, and therefore it is not for me to judge what is good or not bad. Trinidad and Tobago, apart from World War II, we have never been engaged in any war. So I cannot assess what they want to do or not do. They will be not on our soil, they will be in international waters. I want to make that very clear again.
Thank you. On this side, Trinidad and Tobago, it's always a balancing act, I would think, between powers like the US, you have China that I think has given support for Venezuela, for example. How do you and your administration manage that balancing act at this particular time?
We balanced it. We balanced well so far. We have not had any war zones with Venezuela. But it's not just for a country like us, it's all over the world. With the new geopolitical architecture that is forming, we all have to balance and we all have to rethink things that might have happened in the past. We have to rethink to chart our way through some very, very difficult geopolitical times. So yes, balance is important. I think Trinidad and Tobago thus far has balanced well. Again, I repeat, we have no evidence of the allegations being made. And further, we have no discussions of the U.S. actually be deploying on Trinidad and Tobago soil. If they know otherwise or they say there's war, share the evidence. Because at the moment, it's just rhetoric. It's just rhetoric that what Cuba is saying, what Venezuela is saying, give us the evidence. We will consider.
And in the context of, because I know you were given a comment earlier this week, but just for the benefit of the national public seeing you here now, in terms of the issue of gas supply, you had the discussion with Grenada, but I think government is still having conversations with Venezuela. Is there any sense of how that could go given the things taking place now?
When we know more on that with respect to Venezuela, we'll let you know. At the moment, we're engaging with Grenada. I had said it very early o'clock, if you remember, on my first day when I was sworn in that we would engage Grenada, and that is starting to happen.